All right. Good evening, and welcome to the Hoboken Shelter's 5-year strategic plan launch. Please note this session is being recorded and will be sent to registrants. This will give you the opportunity to revisit the content and share with friends. I would ask that you please mute your microphone while our speakers are presenting so everyone can hear. As we share our strategic plan, we request that you use the comment section with any questions. If you think of a question for a speaker at any point, please type it there and we will answer as many questions as we are able at the end of the presentation during our panel Q&A. And if you are experiencing any issues such as audio, etc., we will be monitoring the chat for those comments as well. My name is Hannah Osterman, and I am currently serving as the president for the shelter's board of directors. Tonight, we at the Hoboken Shelter are proud to share with you our 5-year strategic plan. In our 40 years as a community partnership, our mission has been and continues to be to transform lives by providing meals to the hungry, shelter for the homeless, and services to support people to become housed. The strategic plan is organized around 5 priority areas, which were identified through extensive reflection on our strengths and opportunities. Each of the priorities will be presented by a board member, sharing our high-level look at our goals and some of the achievements we have already accomplished in this first year. The strategic priority areas we will be discussing tonight are guest programs and support, community awareness and engagement, inclusion, diversity, equity, and access, capacity building, and financial stability. The priorities, or as some of us on the board have started referring to them as pillars, that we have highlighted will allow us to continue to offer a safe and respectful space for guests, our staff, and our volunteers. We aim to foster a community within the shelter that is open and inviting, welcoming people from all walks of life. Our shelter is unique in that we not only provide important short-term help for our guests, but that we value the long-term significance of going the extra mile to help end homelessness. The progress we've made has been no small feat and is thanks to the valuable role the community plays in our success. As we implement this plan, we continue to be mindful of the blessings and challenges which may come our way, and we are committed to monitoring our progress and making necessary adjustments to our plan as needed to ensure its success. 2022 is the 40th anniversary of the Hoboken Shelter. We marked this milestone by having a gala, which was a sunset cruise. I'm sure many of you joined us. And this past summer, we were so humbled and honored by the way the community showed up, as you always do, and to support and celebrate the occasion. We had a record number of sponsorships, donations, and attendees. Pulling off the event is a great example of how our pillars and priority areas of the plan are intertwined for our mission success. Our community awareness and engagement allowed us to recruit a large volunteer committee who then in turn shared about the event with local businesses, friends, and family. Our capacity building priority allowed for an increased development department within our staff to better support the event, all while raising funds to expand our guest support and services. Before I introduce our next speaker, I would like to take a moment to thank Dr. Ann Murphy from Stevens Institute of Technology and her students who supported us in the development of this strategic plan. I also want to thank Matt Swartz and the team at Constructive for their design of the booklet, which we are sharing tonight on the screen. And thank you for taking the time to join us tonight to hear more about our vision to end homelessness one person at a time. Now I will pass the mic to Jacqueline Cherubini, our Invincible Executive Director for the past 18 years.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Hoboken Shelter virtually. I love that you all signed on to be with us tonight. It is thanks to you that we are able to celebrate our 40th anniversary, and we are able to overcome the challenges of hunger and homelessness and end hunger and homelessness for our neighbors in our community. I am really appreciative that you are part of the solution to get us here from 1982 to 2022 and help us move forward in our 5-year strategic plan to get to 2027. So a question I was asked recently is, how many people did we house during the pandemic years? 209 people moved from the streets to our shelter to their very own homes, thanks to all of you and all of your support to help end homelessness. It is a very daunting task to be able to answer the door to everyone who needs us, but we always have a warm meal on our table, ready to break bread together as a family, as the very first step on someone's journey home. And that's thanks to all of you for your support, your care, your concern, and your commitment to this mission, to our community, to end hunger and homelessness. So I look forward to answering your questions and at the end of this presentation. So please continue to add the questions to the comments section, and we look forward to having a Q&A at the end. So I'll see you later. Thanks.
Hi all, that means I'm up next. For those of you who don't know me, my name is
I think you're on mute.
Thank you all. Okay, better? Perfect. All right, so for those who don't know me, my name is Peter LeCarish, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of how we got to this event tonight. I became the shelter president in 2019, and that was a very exciting time. The shelter was seeing continued growth in funding sources, whether that's individual gifts or our events, but we were also running up against staffing constraints, and we identified the need to build capacity. The executive committee, the board, and Jacqueline needed to decide how and when to invest. We'd not had a strategic plan at the shelter in nearly 10 years. So we initiated the strategic planning process, identified 4 fantastic organizations, and ultimately selected Dr. Ann Murphy to be our strategic planning consultant. Dr. Murphy brought with her 20 years of strategic planning experience, both in the corporate world at PricewaterhouseCoopers and as a professor at Stevens. Her previous clients had included corporate clients like Saks Fifth Avenue, Burberry, and The Limited, but more recently she had focused on local nonprofits, such as the Hoboken Historical Museum. Dr. Murphy has adopted a very cool civic engagement model for these strategic plans. She identifies Stevens seniors who are interested in the strategic planning process and designs a capstone course for them to help the local nonprofit develop their strategic plan in conjunction with the students, guiding them through the entire process. So over the years, the Hoboken Shelter has now effectively worked with 3 cohorts of Stevens students, deepening the connection between the shelter and Stevens, while also producing a high-quality plan. So in 2020, the Stevens cohort, the first Stevens cohort, joined our shelter board retreat in March. I'm sure I don't need to remind everybody what happened immediately after that. So nonetheless, the shelter persisted, keeping our doors open through the pandemic thanks to heroic efforts by Jacqueline and our shelter staff. And while the pandemic delayed our plan, We're now excited to introduce it to you and to be executing against the strategic priorities identified in conjunction with Dr. Murphy and the Stevens students. Overall, the shelter continues to see growth. Our capacity building efforts have had a very meaningful impact on the lives of our staff, while also continuing to develop the shelter into a professional nonprofit with a track record of continued growth. I'm very excited to be here tonight, both to introduce the strategic plan to you and to say that I look forward to working with you to see it all put into practice. Thank you.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Rand Hoppy. I am a board member at the shelter for since 2011. And I've been in Hoboken for 40 years. And it was just one of those things where I was looking at the shelter's website, and it needed help. So I helped out and got involved. And then suddenly I was on the board and helping with payment processing and more website stuff and events and so on. And it's just amazing how the shelter has stepped in to fill the gap in kind of a gap that's in society that we built for ourselves. And the shelter is just really critical for Hoboken and the community. So this strategic plan is just fantastic, and just really happy to talk about what the plans are for the guest programs and support. That's like, that's the street level like support. We work with our guests, and we as Jacqueline and Peter and Hannah said, we welcome people from the street through our shelter, to their own home, and that's about as good as it gets. So to hear that number 209 from Jacqueline during the pandemic is just woohoo, that's fantastic. Anyhow, so the five-year plan right now, as it stands, we're looking to increase our permanent supportive housing. Now, what the permanent supporting housing program is where we actually work with landlords and we manage the apartments and get the folks in there, and then we work with them all the time. And so we're looking to increase that by 25%. And where are we now? Jacqueline, is that?
We have 40 apartments that we manage throughout Hudson County.
That is incredible. So let's get another 10. Come on, we need to find people and make that happen. And I'm pretty sure that's it's going to be a big challenge, but that's the way it goes, and that's what we do. We also have going to increase our housing vouchers, and I guess some of them or all of them, they're colloquially called Section 8 housing vouchers, and I'm sure there's a lot of those going on, but I don't know, I'll ask Jacqueline a number on those. Do you have any idea?
That is the 40 vouchers for those apartments that we
same
manage.
Vouchers. Oh, okay.
Which we have plans for 18 more dedicated to homeless veterans with our partnership with the Hoboken American Legion Post 107.
Right on. Yeah, that's a great project that we've participated in town. So there's having partnerships with organizations like the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the Tom Kennedy branch of the VFW, and just working with county and the state and the federal government, just developing more healthcare. Mental health care, that's an important aspect of the services that we want to provide our guests. We're also like well-being, just like professional development. These are the things that we do. I mean, what's that number right there on that green at the bottom of the green? Almost 20,000 vocational, educational, skill building workshops and outreach connections. Let's strengthen it, have some more, help more people. That's a lot, and we can do more of that. You know, and it's also about working with local businesses, getting you know, some job placement. We've had some success with that, and that is you know, really just to build the community, be out in Hoboken and the county, of course, you know, but just to increase that, provide more job opportunities. So it's I think it's ambitious and it's great, and thanks for your interest in learning about it. And it's been my pleasure to share it with you.
Thanks, Rand. And I'm up next. Hey, everybody, my name is Mark Singleton, and I currently serve as the Vice President of the board. I've also been a volunteer at the Hoboken Shelter since 1985. And, you know, as a lifelong resident of Hoboken, I've seen the town change in all the many ways that it has. And, you know, for the last 37 years or so, it's been my great joy to be able to advocate for the many people in Hoboken for whom the Renaissance was not necessarily a blessing. Many people were left behind when in our Renaissance in Hoboken. So I'm here tonight to speak about the community awareness and engagement pillar of our strategic plan. The Hoboken Shelter arose out of a pressing need in the community. It was a response to a need that existed in 1982, and a group of churches and a synagogue got together to address what they thought at the time would be a short-term need. 40 years later, we still exist because that need still exists. And it's also very important to remember that homelessness is a national problem, as you all know. 500,000 Americans will experience homelessness tonight. 80,000 in New York City alone, many of whom are children. And all of this is occurring in a country where 50 million people are living below the poverty line, and many millions deal with food insecurity every night, which is all just a way of saying that there are millions of people who could be in need of our services at any given time. You heard a lot from Rand about what we do inside the shelter tonight, but I'm here to talk about what the Hoboken Shelter does for the city of Hoboken. Some people wrongly believe that we have a homelessness problem in Hoboken because of the Hoboken Shelter. In fact, the problem in Hoboken would be so much worse without us. We are open every hour of every day, and we are often the only place that people have to go. We are a warming station when it's cold and a cooling station when it's hot, and we provide 1,000 showers a week to our guests and to the street-dwelling population of Hoboken. We also, as you've heard, are constantly moving people from the street to the shelter to their own homes, which is just a way of saying that at the Hoboken Shelter, we're about solutions to homelessness. We provide a service to Hoboken also by educating residents about the complicated issue of homelessness and hunger. In many years, in most years, in fact, we have around 10,000 individual volunteers a year. That's amazing. A great many of those people are young people or students who come to us to perform their service hours. Through contact with us, these young people not only see the problem firsthand for themselves, they importantly see that there are in fact solutions and that they can be a part of that solution. Young people are changed by their association with us. I've seen many, countless thousands of them come through our door over the years. Another recent example of the kind of thing we do for public education is a campaign we undertook recently called Campaign for Change. And this was a campaign to address the issue of panhandling on Washington Street. And instead of just having it as a negative thing to stop panhandling, we tried to focus attention and both educate and show people how they can make a real difference by donating to organizations like ours. So at the Hoboken Shelter, we're raising awareness of the issues, educating the housed members of town, and ensuring that Hoboken always remains a place where all are welcomed, regardless of where they happen to sleep. And that we remind everyone that the solution to homelessness is not more police or more rules or more laws or fewer comfortable benches. The solution to homelessness is more homes. And we are working to make that happen through our permanent supportive housing program and in many, many ways. We have a program that we call homelessness prevention, where we provide people with a security deposit, which is often the only thing they need in order to get into their own homes. Again, we're all about solutions, and we take very seriously at the board level our responsibility to educate people about that. And I just want to end by saying that I want to thank everyone who donates to the Hoboken Shelter, because when you do, you're supporting an amazing staff of men and women who are working on the front line of this national crisis. And they are doing amazing work every day. One person at a time, one meal at a time, one bed at a time. We are, in fact, ending homelessness in Hoboken. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mark. I think you described that very well. That is our mission, that is our commitment, and we're so happy to have everyone involved and have a sense of belonging. So we focus on inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. Some people might say, use the word belonging. Some people might say DEI, IDEA is what we say, because our guests are not what you see on TV. They're not Hollywood homeless. They're you, me, our family members, our neighbors, our cousins, our uncles, our grandparents, our grandchildren. It is anybody and everyone. Our guests are comprised of 1/3 Latinx, 1/3 Black, 1/3 white. Therefore, our staff is comprised of 1/3 Latinx, 1/3 Black, and 1/3 white. Our board has made the decision to make a commitment to also invest in inclusion, diversity, equity, and access on our governing board level. We have initiated trainings on a board level with a group called Bridge, and that is where we had our board have a lot of trainings, and we have, even though we have a little bit more of a diverse board than I have had experience with, where we have more women represented and more people of color, we are still moving towards having more inclusion, diversity, equity, and access on our board level, which currently is 80% white, 13% Black, 3% Latinx, and 3% other. We do have 53% of our board that are women and 47% of our board that identify as men. All of whom, our board, staff, and guests, have been invited to participate in a really good training series called Imagine More. It's Racial Justice Begins With Us. We at the Hoboken Shelter have taken that opportunity and that challenge and that commitment to really, really, really invest in inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. The reason why I am committed is multi-tiered and multi-levels, is there was 400 years of injustice, and we are a justice organization, and we'd like to right the wrongs of the past and move forward and provide opportunities. A lot of our guests have limited access, and here at the Hoboken Shelter, we provide a safe place to ask for help and a safe place to give help and bring it together and provide opportunities, especially housing. It is a human right to have a safe place to sleep, and it is a basic human right to have food to eat. And here at the Hoboken Shelter, we make sure it's good food to eat. Thanks to all of our volunteers and all of our donors, we're able to have the focus to end hunger and homelessness with the lens of inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. Thank you.
And now we're going to talk about our strategic priority for capacity building. This priority will ensure and provide the shelter with an effective number of employees and the necessary equipment to better service guests. This will allow us to increase the scope of our permanent supportive housing program and increase other services and support structures within the organization. We will improve the capacity for executive decision-making by enabling long-term planning, vision, and execution, all with strong project management and goal realization skills. We will bolster staffing in understaffed teams and create new positions as needed. This will create a more sustainable environment and with great results that will build momentum and help us to exceed our expectations. We strive to greatly improve our resilience and succession planning, which will allow the reduction of risk of burnout and give space for continued methodical decision-making. How do we do this? Steward proactive budget management, particularly around labor, by investing in high ROI items that also coincide with the shelter's great mission, such as 401k retirement planning, health and wellness benefits, and a fair living wage for the most expensive zip code in New Jersey. Investing in existing practices, which have taken the shelter this far, has also made the journey smoother. And this includes a stricter audit procedure and an expanded finance committee to assist our executive director. Long-term recruitment, culture, training, and promotion practices lead to higher retention rates and advancing our employees' careers. These are some of the focuses we have right now to help foster this environment. And it is with the generosity of the local community and donors like you that has made this possible. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Simone Taylor, and I'm the Development Chair on the Shelter Board. And I'm here to talk to you about our strategic priority of fundraising and financial stability. Fundraising is the lifeblood of the shelter. It is what makes it possible to fund our mission of ending homelessness, one person at a time, as you've heard from the previous speakers. The funds we raise also allow us to make improvements to the services we offer and to develop educational programs for our guests, helping them to transition to effective self-sufficiency. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of our donors and supporters on this call for your generous donations through the years that continue to support the shelter and its mission. In our 40th anniversary year in particular, as Hannah mentioned earlier, your incredible support has allowed us to raise record level funds at our key events. As we launch the strategic plan today, we plan to strengthen all our fundraising streams to ensure the long-term financial stability of the shelter. A key plank of that strategy is to engage more closely with you so that we can communicate often and frequently the impact of your support. Your generosity allowed us to stay open during the pandemic and continue our mission. Thanks to your donations, as we heard from Jacqueline earlier, the shelter has moved more than 100 guests per year into permanent homes of their own since the start of the pandemic in 2020. In addition, your donations make it possible for us to provide food and shelter for our most vulnerable neighbors, allowing us to serve more than 300 meals a day and host more than 30 guests per night. Equally important is for us to understand better what programs you are most closely interested in supporting as we seek to provide the services that meet our guests at their point of need. We would love to learn more about what opportunities appeal most to you and about the projects and causes that would secure matching donations from your organizations and companies. Finally, getting to know our guests and their individual stories is an important part of our mission. We invite you and all your organizations to talk to us about volunteering at the shelter and other opportunities for engagement. Thank you again for being a crucial part of our shelter family. We're looking forward to working with you as we accomplish our goals over the next 5 years. Thank you for listening. I now hand over to Hamis, who will start coordinating the questions from you.
Thank you, Simone. If we would like to take a minute to just type in our questions in the chat regarding any of our pillars that we just went over.
Would anyone like to raise their hand and ask their question live? Don't be shy. We're here for you, and we're thankful that you're here for us.
Would you be able to email the presentation as well, just to have it for us?
Yes, we will email to all the registrants to this group, as well as we'd like to post it live on our website. We just have to tech director check that out. And please take a look at our website. We do have the strategic plan posted, so you can scroll through to see the impactful minutes, moments, and photos and faces, and be able to read it a little bit more thoroughly on your own time. So we do welcome you to view it on our website, and we will post this interactive presentation as well.
We have one question. What is the best way to keep current about volunteer opportunities?
I'll jump in and say that we keep our social media very updated, and we try to collaborate with any other events that are going on, partnerships, upcoming opportunities. Maybe we really need hot chocolate or plates. We'll post even things like that. What we need just day-to-day shelter. You can learn about meals. We also use a great app called Charity Quest, where you can register for, again, different events, making meals, dropping meals off. And if anybody else has suggestions on the best ways for volunteer updates.
Well, we do have a newsletter that goes out. So there's a follow-up question saying, is there a newsletter? We have a newsletter that goes out. But you're also welcome to stop by the shelter and walk around, meet the staff, and meet the guests. As Jacqueline mentioned earlier, we have very many guests, and they are our family. They are just like us. They're not the stereotypical people that you might see in movies or read about in books. These are people you run into every day on the streets, and each one has their own story that's very special and very unique. So any opportunity you have to just stop by and meet them and meet the people who work with them on a daily basis is worth it.
And could I also say that I think the way most people first interact with the Hoboken Shelter is through our soup kitchen. It's how I certainly did at first. And it's a wonderful, easy opportunity to get to know the shelter. We have a staff person there at all times at night, and register through Charity Quest, and encourage everyone you know to come volunteer at the Hoboken Shelter for a meal. You'll get to see the heart of the place and how we operate. And it's a great first introduction.
And please visit our website. We do have a volunteer page there, and we try to keep that up to date. And Charity Quest is definitely a feature that we engaged in and invested in during the pandemic. And it was in response to what volunteers wanted from us. They wanted it digital. They wanted something more sophisticated. They wanted an opportunity to sign up and register on nights that we needed it most. And I think that's a good evidence of us moving from a grassroots organization to a professional organization. So I'm really happy that that came from you and your suggestions and your solutions.
We have another question. Has anybody ever brought up the creation of attractive and inexpensive tiny homes to help ease homelessness and make home ownership more affordable?
I can take this, Elizabeth. So a couple of years ago, I did have a night at the shelter where we presented a feature film about tiny homes. And there was interviews with the homeless community and leadership in Lakewood that was really championing this opportunity. So unfortunately in New Jersey, it is not legal to have a home less than 150 square feet, which is the size of a container unit. So the tiny homes also doesn't meet a lot of people with disability and different abilities. That most of the bedrooms are over the kitchen and most of the bathrooms are teeny tiny. So I do like the idea, but actually refurbishing containers is actually more in line with the zoning rules of New Jersey. And a lot of it has to do with, besides abilities, the fire department. There's points of egress. But we have looked into it and we have featured it here and we had helped champion it because it does work and does help a lot of people in the community nationwide.
Okay, thanks. I was just wondering, did anybody ever advocating for changing, deregulating so that it would become possible?
I think we can. I do know, being the daughter of a firefighter and a niece and a goddaughter, that most of the fire departments really think that the point of egress is really important to have at the minimum, the 150 square feet. But they are cuter than cute. And it does work in a lot of communities, but in New Jersey, we don't have the opportunity to have that voice at this time. But if you look into it, let us know.
Yeah.
I will.
There's another question regarding the IDEA pillar. Were there any local/national events that catapulted this council? What triggered the board to want to engage with this?
I guess I can speak to that since I was the president at the time, and with a board member who couldn't join us tonight, Susan Lemoyne, we were some of the people who kind of drove the idea initiative forward. So it's been a topic of conversation amongst the board for a long time, and you know, of course, like the George Floyd situation and Black Lives Matter were a catalyst. You know, we took that as a sign that it's not enough to talk about this. We need to like put our money and time where our mouth is and actually start making concrete progress towards a more representative board, a board that looks more like our staff and our guests. And so I would say those were the primary catalysts. It's been something that Jacqueline has been working with the staff even before we started addressing it at the board level. And so we thought, well, if we're asking our staff to do this, then we need to be doing this at the board level too. We need to demonstrate that we take this seriously and make a commitment to it.
And at the staff level, we have a board liaison that joins us a couple times a year for an inclusion, diversity, equity, and access council with our staff. And we try to provide our the best opportunity to have a safe space to talk about microaggressions, full front aggressions, situations, and be able to build bridges and communicate and be seen and be heard by and with each other. So we do hold that at the shelter with our staff as well.
There's another question. how do we go about dealing with the affordable housing issue? It's no secret that we live in Hoboken, like Hannah was touching upon, and that also means decreased opportunities of housing. What are we doing in order to combat that?
Well, I can speak to that a little bit. I mean, as a real estate broker, I know very well how expensive Hoboken is at the moment. And that's why even in our permanent supportive housing program, most of those units are located in Jersey City and some of the surrounding areas. It's very difficult in Hoboken, but we're always advocating for more. At any given time, we have available vouchers, which are a federally funded voucher where we can put somebody in an apartment if we have a landlord willing to take it. But there are limits to those amounts. It means finding a one bedroom for around $1,300. And, you know, very often it's difficult to find in a place like Hoboken. So this is a continuing problem. And the problem of affordable housing in communities like Hoboken is really one of our root cause problems, and it causes all of these other issues. And it's something which is not easily addressed. I know the city of Hoboken is doing some things with their inclusionary ordinance, and there are some set asides from developers and things like that. And we participate wherever we can. But this is a big, big problem. And I wish I could say that there was an easy solution to it, but we're doing the best we can.
But the way to end homelessness is with a home. So if you have any landlords that are interested in making sure that they get payments on the first of the month, which our staff has been building relationships. Some landlords actually, since the pandemic, have been more receptive because they had a lot of people that lost their jobs in the middle of the pandemic, where this is a committed payment for your rent on the first of the month, no matter what. You know, whether it's a pandemic, whether there's a hurricane, that we actually have built that system with our landlords, that if you get one of these, as Rand mentioned, colloquialism, however you say that word, colloquially, call it Section 8. We call it project-based vouchers. So please let us know with landlords that are willing to rent us a one-bedroom apartment. And the government did raise the rent to a $1,700 amount recently, because we do know we live in the Gold Coast. But I'll tell you what, I can't find a $1,700 a month apartment in Hoboken. So connections and support is definitely needed with this.
Earlier in the presentation, you mentioned the whole point on skill set development, which I think is obviously key as part of the process for getting someone to be able to get their own fish and get their own home and kind of get that independence. I understand that there's been partnerships with existing business owners in the nearby area. My thought is, and I don't know if you have done this already, but obviously talking with these companies, understand what skills we could try to help the people develop, like specific skills that are needed for the jobs that are currently in demand in the area. So I don't know, like maybe for having specialized kind of workshops every now and then that are triggered for these in addition to the existing workshops could be an idea.
Definitely. The workshops is definitely a key that we have here. We like to engage people. We start with your basic need met first, and we make sure that everyone's well fed. We give people the opportunity to take a shower, get new clothes, and then we follow up with the workshops. And honestly, with that system, our guests are no longer hangry. They had a moment to sit after walking an average of 14 miles a day. And we have that learning opportunity to be best well received. We do welcome professionals from any and all fields to come in 3 to 5 p.m. every single day, 7 days a week, to offer any insight on any opportunities. Pre-pandemic, we had a lot of organizations from the banking industry to weatherization industry come in and do a Q&A with our guests. I had a small business talk about a barter system. That actually was really quite incredible. They ran a small coffee shop news program, and they talked about how they were able to have a business and work with different people. Our guests are hungry for that knowledge as well. They are really receptive and really interested in being engaged and looking at more opportunities. So we welcome for you to help us help our guests
Yeah.
in that professional forum as well. And to just echo just one more moment, whenever I ask the guest how I can help you get housed, the #1 answer is help me get a job. Which is interesting because they're like, if I get a job, I can make money and pay for my own rent. And I always think it's like get you a home because that's going to end homelessness, but they want to be part of the solution as well, so that they're looking for this opportunity. So thank you for asking that question. All these questions have been great so far. We look forward to more. Any more, Hamis?
Yes. What is the primary driver of homelessness for shelter guests? And then secondly, does anyone keep track of this type of data for shelter guests?
Shall I jump in or anyone else? Okay, so there is an annual point in time count. It's a census for the homeless, and HUD mandates it to be the last Wednesday of January. I actually think we would get a better census if it was in April, as we did in years past, because a lot of homelessness is hidden during the very, very, very cold nights. But we are a very data-driven community, that we enter all demographic and all information, all questions like that in a clinical web-based database called Homelessness Management Information System, HMIS. And any organization that receives any government funding in the state of New Jersey has to enter the data into this clinical web-based data. So we do collect this data, and we do conduct a census of the homeless every year in January. And I will tell you off the top of my head, I believe the biggest reason for homelessness in our area is family breakup. And a lot of it could come from different ways. There could be some addiction issues, some mental health issues, some financial issues that lead to that family breakup. But when once your stability is broken, that there's food insecurity, there's housing insecurity, and the family breakup. So once we get our guests housed again, I like to share with people that yes, they are living independently, but we're also living interdependently, because we all rely on our friends and our family and our community to live well together. And I think that with your help, we could be the strength of that fabric to provide a home and a community and stability for our guests.
Thank you so much.
We have another. Do guests have access to medical care through the shelter?
I think I shall take this one as well. We partner with the local hospitals, the federally qualified FHQCA XYZ. But yes, we do. And then one of the greatest things that happened about 10 years ago is Bridgeway Crisis Intervention Services became part of the community. So for mental health services, we were able to partner with them for our guests to have free opportunity for mental health services. And I do know a lot of people have a lot of issues with Affordable Care Act, but I will tell you that our guests now receive services, and it's no longer being part of charity care, and that they actually get to see and be ahead of it and do preventative health care now with proper health care services and insurances in order to take care of our guests. Because walking an average of 14 miles a day, if you get a flat in your sock, you get a blister, you go to the hospital, and this is like years ago, you go to the hospital, you get a huge bill. It's like $30,000. It's another barrier put in front of you, because especially when you apply for a housing application, they do a financial background. And then that $30,000 bill for for a blister will prevent you from becoming housed. So we don't provide directly at the shelter. What we do is we provide a partnership and access to medical and mental health care through our community.
And
Although I think it's important to mention that during the pandemic, we did provide a vaccine site for anyone who wanted it, including street dwelling homeless and our guests. So at certain opportunities, especially in emergencies, we do step in and become a medical center of sorts when needed.
Oh, good point, Mark. We were able to help over 400 people get vaccinated. And that included our guests, our staff, our volunteers, our neighbors, and we did several days of that. And in addition, we offered more hand sanitizing opportunity, because that was one of the greatest fights against COVID, was wearing masks and washing our hands and taking showers and providing opportunity for cleanliness. So hygiene is key. And it should be noted that our guests shower every single night. Our building is sanitized all the time, and that being a clean facility and a clean community is a priority for our guests. We host 1,000 showers a week, as Mark mentioned earlier.
And it's also interesting to note that during times of crisis, during times of city crisis or national crisis, the Hoboken Shelter often becomes a place that the city uses as a shelter. During Hurricane Sandy, for instance, and things like that, we became a location where we could distribute food and water to other people in the community. So although the Hoboken Shelter is an emergency place for people on a day-to-day basis, it also provides other services to the city and residents of Hoboken.
And during these winter months, we helped develop the Warming Center and the Winter Emergency Initiative that is countywide. I've been working on that since 2004, and it is now we set a state precedent, and now the term Code Blue is because of Hudson County, and that all communities in the state of New Jersey have to provide a place of shelter if it's 32 degrees or below. In Hudson County, it is every night from November 15th to March 31st, so that nobody dies on the streets from cold during our winter seasons here.
we have time for one more question, if there's any more questions out there. Otherwise, I'll say thank you very much all for joining us. Please reach out if you think of any questions after this event. And we have an auction coming up, very exciting. Our hybrid event, December 9th through the 14th online, with an in-person event at Birch, December 14th. And like we mentioned, the booklet that we shared on the screen tonight will be on the website, as well as this recording. So thank you very much for taking the time to spend your evening with us, and enjoy the rest of your night.